Hey. Bring this, no one wants to speak in the community forum. Yeah. Okay, we're going to actually tonight. Say something before the phone. I have a question for you. Sure. I just want to know, is it common practice for any administrator from a school to help a community member set up an LLC or a nonprofit on school time?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
I'm gonna ask the question. Because I have an email from Rachel Klein to one of our administrators asking for help in school time. To help set up a nonprofit or an LLC.
Was it a private school? Was it because connected to the public school?
So there's an email asking for help, but do you know if that administrator did, in fact,
No, yeah,
have time, spend time?
Yeah, it says that.
Yes, no, I didn't.
Do you know anything about this?
Sharing.
Do I know anything about that?
Oh, she does.
Dated back in March. This is from April.
Where is it all? So April had a meeting with Rachel Kremke and her husband to talk about setting up an LLC. I know, I mean, this is kind of like that, I'm not sure it's a driver's license, but I'm just going to be doing that. With, I assume that was for setting up for Rudy to grow. Yeah, I'm not gonna make an assumption, but she set up a nonprofit to assist, try to assist with school stuff. But again, I'm not familiar with the situation. I don't think we know enough. Like with my employees, if they do something out of the scope of their job during the day, I flex in time that they're working. I don't track their full hourly day. If they get something that you would assume that the employee would have integrity, that they wouldn't be spending their work time doing it. So, did it happen during the school day? It could have. Well, you else would during school time, yes. I have no knowledge of that. So, yeah, I don't practice, and there was one time practice. You may not want to reach out. Okay, any other items for the community? Okay, we're gonna move into the regular monthly meeting. We're gonna call the meeting to order. And we will start with the pledge of allegiance. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. The sweet power which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, the meeting is now posted on the bulletin site. And we are on to the minutes.
Motion to approve the agenda. With the one change of, in the minutes, number C or letter C, it says 6 p.m. That meeting is 7 p.m. I believe the actual minutes reflect 7 p.m. But this the agenda doesn't. So make a motion just to make sure that matches the town minutes.
Okay. Motion and a second. Are there any additions or corrections besides that correction? Favor them, say aye.
Aye.
Scary. Okay, we're on to the minutes.
Motion to approve, meeting minutes with Monday, October 23rd, 2023 at 6:15 p.m. open session.
Okay, we have a motion in a second. Third meeting. Here, any additions, corrections? Hearing none, all in favor, let's say aye.
Aye.
All at the same time. Motion carried.
Motion to approve, meeting minutes for Friday, October 27th, 2023 at 7 a.m. open session.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion in a second. Are there any comments, concerns, corrections? Hearing none, all in favor, then say aye.
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 All at the same time. Motion carried.
Motion to approve meeting minutes from Monday, October 20, 2023 at 7 p.m. open session.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion in a second. Comments, corrections, additions? Hearing none, all in favor, then say aye.
Aye.
All at the same time, motion's carried. Financial report and bill listing from, let's do the one from.
So, just a little note that was made in the, totally, in the board packet about the question about the, checking the TPO for 37,3350. After review, the TPO had no direct involvement with that book fair or raising those dollars, so the TPO did roll us a check back for the same dollar amount that was written to them. And from there, we have Maria and her team will be using it for primary school diploma roles. So. Can I ask who approved that check? Why that check was written out? Well, Sophie Mathis wrote the check and then I authorized it. That's good, all the checks did. And it's 37, what is it? 37, 33, 50. Because I see this, so we that, $900,
Or is there other information?
I'm not sure that's in August, so I'm not quite sure. I'm just asking where we're going to send them. Sure, I'm not prepared to answer that question.
Do you have information to share with the board?
Well, I'm just saying,
Yes, you do or not? Okay. Can you share all that information with the board? Because it seems like this is now the second month in a row, and we're not. It doesn't seem like we're handling and sending out information in advance to either Ron or the rest of the board. As we're all flying blind here.
Yeah, I know. So
as to what's going on.
Let's get it on the floor and. And then we'll start.
For this motion, I need the read whole thing, right?
Yes.
Okay, and so I'm rereading the September 21st.
Yeah.
So I move that we approve the voucher listing September 21st, 2023 to October 17th, 2023. Payroll direct deposit number 90009. 900060660 through 900060774 in the amount of $174,800.12. Wire transfers, wire number 20230068 through 20230081 in the amount of $263,261.66. Total payroll of $437,342.78. Accounts payable, check number 56099 to 56151, the amount of $164,079.99. AP wire transfer 2023-00071 through 2023-00072, the amount of $446.28. 2023-00082 through 2023-00085, in the amount of $7,432.10. Credit card transactions H2123 through H2123, the amount of $67,554.34. Credit card transactions 92023 through 92023, the amount of $36,737.61. ACH direct deposit number 2324-00025 through 2324-00034, the amount of $1,112.73. For a total accounts payable of $277,363.08, total disbursements of $714,705.86.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Now. Well, the preference is. What information is there?
We go to check the PTO for 37-33-58.
And they wrote a check back.
Right back to us for that, yep. And those were book fair money profits that were in the district account, because the district over the last several years, and it's something that Nicole and Sophie wanted to get rid of, so it wouldn't be something that we needed to comment on in our audit, and just a liability there. So when the decision was to be made that PTO was going to take over the book fair, great. Again, I was under the assumption that PTO had their hands in it. That's when so we decided, hey, let's write the check, let's clear this out, and let's give it to PTO. When we found out PTO didn't have any, they didn't deal with that. We asked for the money back, and then ultimately, since the money was raised for books, or from the book fair, we put it right back into our curriculum department, who is going to be buying books for Merton Private School. I don't know enough about the ins and outs of that account, about how much it continued to build over the last couple of years, or the spring book fair, the fall book fair, the prior year. I'm not prepared to answer that.
Two things. So it's amazing that PTO can volunteer to get the book fair up and running, give kids the advantage to shop the book fair. But when you say get it off the books, do we have so much money that the staff doesn't need $3,000 to purchase books?
When we talk to where we need the biggest, where we have a need for that $3,700 would be for the decodable books, instead of giving it to our staff in their classroom libraries, doing something specifically for specific instruction in the area of 4K through second grade, probably more.
Well, we wanted to make sure we were spending the money on something we know with new Act 20 are still materials we can use next year. So the decodable books are something that we don't have right now in our classroom libraries, or frankly for our guided reading materials. So we thought that's a very safe place to put it, where we know we won't have to worry about
Which is fantastic
what it is.
that it's going to a need. I just
I think you're wondering about get it off the books, we didn't need money. I was just saying, get it off the books, it's an audit issue for Sophie.
We thought somebody else was going to be controlling the money instead of it being like a discretion. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't understand.
Yeah, so I'm clarifying that when you say get it off the books, like we don't need $3,700. As a parent in this district, I've often had requests from staff that we need books, and obviously we have an influx of new teachers this year that could probably use some updating to just their classroom resources. And to me, when I look at a book fair and those profits, I see that going back to the staff for the kids.
So you don't need, get rid of the money.
Correct.
Who controls the money? It should
I
be
was
with-
clarifying the way you said it.
Thank you.
Get it off the books just sounded like we don't need it.
Plenty of ways that we need it. Yeah.
And then you ask who.
I have no idea.
It was money that was raised and just sat in the account. And it was to go for. Was. The money that's where it was just sitting there, we weren't doing anything with it. Hence the reason why the original was to give it back to the people who raised the money. And then as soon as we found out that wasn't the case, they returned the money and then ultimately we followed. In the past, well, there's profits that can be had in either elastic dollars, the Terra dollars, again, money back to the organization.
Well, I would assume some of this money was last year's money.
It was all last year's money. Last year's previous
And I-
month, that was spring.
Spring,
Fall, all the previous.
And I would venture to guess that, April left early. Her last day was like in May. My, without having a direct conversation with her, my assumption is that that was probably something she typically would, I'll say, clear out. Because it's probably an account within the accounting system that accountants want to zero out each year. Next year, next school year starts. So my guess is that would have probably, had April been here, that probably would have been a zero account by June 30th, 2023, which is the end of our fiscal year. So that the start of the new fiscal year would have a zero balance. So I probably a combination of it was money raised last year. It was not having a business manager at the end of the year, is my assumption. As to prior years, I wouldn't know.
Yeah.
Was never involved in a book fair, structuring it or otherwise.
I can speak, our instructional specialists have a responsibility and had in my 2 years here to work with the book fair people at taking the profits and did the ordering for that. That's been true. Depending on the vendor, Scholastic gives it to you in like Scholastic dollars that you spend through them. Latour was new last year, and I don't know if that came back in cash. I also don't know, our instructional specialists at the primary were pulled out to be substitutes at the end of last school year. And I don't know if the timing also was that because we never like talked and did like the year before about how the profits from the book fair would use. And that's separate from, in all the book fairs, our teachers putting out a wish list that the book fair people would pull out those books and give them out of the profits first. So it was really like a two-phase. Teachers put out a wish list, parents would fulfill, the book fair would fulfill the rest from the money that they earned, and then the rest of the percentage would go to the reading instructional specialist to spend.
Thank you.
I only know that for the. Can't say much beyond that.
Any other questions or concerns about this? Okay. More discussion, all in favor, then say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries, and we're on to this one.
I move we approve the voucher listing October 18th, 2023 through November 21st, 2023. Payroll, direct deposit 900060775 through 900060890. The amount of $180,215.20. Direct deposit number 900060891 through 900061008. The amount of $171,159.35. Direct deposit number 900061009 through 900061126 in the amount of $182,956.36. Wire transfers, wire number 2023-00087 through 2023-00121, the amount of $452,979.19. for a total payroll of $988,313.97. Accounts payable, check number 56152 through 56212, the amount of $138,719.64. April wire transfer 2023-00095 through 2023-00097, amount of $460.89. Wire transfer 2023-00110 through 2023-00112, amount of $7,962.50. Credit card transactions 102023 through 102023, amount of $58,398.67. ACH direct deposit 2324-00035 through 2324-00046, the amount of $2,411.62. For a total accounts payable of $207,953.33 and total disbursements of $1,196,267.03.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. We're gonna total voucher listing. Is there any questions, discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, then say aye.
Aye.
Both same sign. Motion carried. We are on delegation to be heard. What?
Oh, delegate.
Yeah.
And. Nicole. Okay,
I just had a couple questions. One is related to the budget and then, or two are related to the budget, and then one is related to open records request. We had some discussion, I think, last time we were talking about the policy. So there's one pose those, and if the next one today, great. If not, direct me where, where's the right source. So one is so I read in the packet that we're approving the budget, or I believe we're approving the budget at a deficit of $140,000-ish. Is that because we have contingency in the budget, or we expect to find savings throughout the year or other funds throughout the year to kind of make up that difference to end up in the black?
and yes, I need to explain something
Okay,
to you.
sure.
Okay. The community forum. That is an opportunity for the audience to direct the board, questions to the board. And there could be dialogue back and forth. Delegations to be heard are to take an item that's on the agenda and to make a comment on it.
Okay.
But your comments could be questions, and we can answer them later.
We'll can answer
As a board
later
discussion.
in the, okay, it's just that here is not the place for us to be answering questions.
Got it. So I should, on the form, I should have marked yes on the versus.
Next.
Okay.
Right,
I made that mistake first.
But still ask the questions, because
Yeah.
we'll-
We can address.
during the discussion, Dr. Ross or one of the board members will
Okay.
answer
Okay.
that question
Okay.
for you.
Sounds good.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Did you
I guess the other questions were, again, you had mentioned part of the deficit was because of open enrollment stuff. So I was wondering if we had statistics on where they're going and also how many open enrolled into them. And then the last one was around the open records requests and how much those are, how much that volume is increasing, so potentially getting outside counsel or outside the third party to help with that. I just wondered, coming from an IT background, have we considered, or does the state allow us to use technology to do a first pass at redacting versus a human having to do it?
that'll fit right in with our question for you. Don't feel good about it. But in that section, and then I'm not quite sure where the ORR will fit in.
It's on.
Yeah,
Done, yeah.
yeah, it's on the agenda.
Continue discussion.
You got it.
Or
Yep.
recording.
Okay, so that's all the request made for delegation to be heard, so we are moving on to district administrator report with action or information.
Okay, so we do have fund donation. We'd like to thank the Bradford family for the donation of favorable to Merton Primary School. So looking for a motion to accept the Merton Primary School from the Bradford family.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, to accept the donation from the right. Discussion. All in favor, then say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. We'll move to personnel.
So we actually have three personnel actions. We did have a late personnel action from the 2 seconds. So in front of you, you'll see a couple of letter of appointment, a proposed letter of appointment for Diana Van Mullen. Comes with lots of years of experience. And again, she is being asked to go into our 4K in supervision at Merton Primary School. You also see a letter of resignation from Rachel Hicks, Merton Primary School 4K supervisor at Merton Primary School. We wish her the best of luck. And then finally, we do have a letter of resignation from our speech pathologist, Allison Nielsen, who is asking to accept her resignation for personal reasons. So, just looking for those three different motions, one to accept the letter of appointment for Diana Van Mullen as presented, and the 2 letters of resignation presented to the board by Rachel Hicks and Allison Nielsen.
I motion to approve the letter of appointment for Diana Van Mullen as presented.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, then say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Motion to approve the letters of resignation from Rachel Hicks and Allison Nielsen as presented.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for the 2 resignations. Any discussion? All in favor, then say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carried. Okay, and the information. Open records up.
Okay, so this past month we were continuing to fulfill one open records request. And are still working on another open records request as we move forward there too as well. So you know, and the board also asked for kind of a time update where we're at. I know Jim has spent 4 to 5 hours on open records over the past month on these 2 open records, and I've only spent about an hour on that from that standpoint too. So a little kind of reminder about how we do pull open records if we do get an update. We do have the technology to pull. This past spring or whatever, we bought an upgrade to our Google Vault to be able to really help us easily pull that information when it's requested in our technology systems. I'm not aware, and then ultimately we have to go through a redacting process. And again, the state does highlight certain pieces that can be redacted, and I'm not familiar with any AI out there that can follow along, because there's about 5 or 6 different criteria, whether it's student identifiable information, attorney-client privilege, contract negotiations, you know, staff personal information, phone numbers, all sorts of different things. And I guess we haven't been presented with any AI that can help speed that up. So it does truly become a manual process on some of this, and that's really where the time that comes in. And a reminder, we cannot charge for anything other than creation of the record. So all the redaction time, we are not allowed to charge back to the requester. So.
Why do you think that the state wanted the state convention in January? I presume they'll have some AI forms, is that to kind of find out if other people have found software or if they're using something?
There will be a session on it for sure.
Second question, Jim. Put you on the spot here.
Yeah.
There's a district administrator group there's Wisconsin Association of School Boards and the Association for District Administrators. Is there an association for school technology
Yeah.
directors?
Absolutely.
Is that something maybe you could just throw an email out to those folks?
Yeah, I mean, you know, and as, I'm gonna step away from the camera for a second. You know, as we kind of got into those open records requests last year.
Yeah.
A lot of us were kind of hit with we've never had them in mass like this before. So a lot of it was rolling with the punches, figuring out as we go. Just to get them fulfilled, get them out there, get them done right manually.
Yeah.
There are some products out there that can do. You could put basic identifiable information as part of the redaction software search. But none of the people that I had talked to found anything that was foolproof, so you'd have to run the program, and then you'd have to go through it anyway. And, you know, go through it again,
Yeah.
just to make sure.
Yeah.
So a lot of the people that I had talked to, it was simply weather the storm, get through them, do them manually. And then hopefully it'll calm back down.
Thank you for that.
Yep.
We can keep searching for that.
It sounds to me maybe more like keeping your product.
Yeah.
It's better and it's not.
Absolutely.
expensive.
Absolutely.
You wanna talk about what cost Alex? Or,
Well, having again, we're still working through there's, again, a third party is reviewing all of the open record requests. Again, it's being charged right around $290 per hour to do that. Bills continue to come in, as the month end comes. You know, we're approximately probably $10,000, I would say, into the open records review.
hey, any other? Okay, then we're moving on to committee reports.
We've had a great student achievement committee, right before our meeting, and you know, obviously all the information is in the packet, but I would like to really highlight our school report card. And if you do get a chance to really take a look at the information as part of the board packet, it details, you know, what it's about, how we're doing, the improvements we're doing, some of the things we're still trying to stretch ourselves on. And you also highlight in there that we were the 6th ranked school district in the state of Wisconsin. So a ton of energy from our board, our staff, past and present as well. And we're very thankful for our staff and very thankful for our families and everybody's really hard work. So it was a great celebration. And we had a lot of celebration with our staff this past week. We shared it. Maybe we'll continue to push out that really positive news. And again, it was really interesting when Maria presented, because ultimately there's a state report card and there's formulas that go into it. Several of our feeder schools and some of our competitors don't have the same size that we have. So there's some things in their report card that's a little bit different than ours. So it's not quite an apples to apples comparison at all times. So, but again, a really great presentation, and I encourage everybody, if you missed it, to go take a look at it. It was really impressive, and it really explained in detail a lot of the information. So that was really good. Then the other real question that I get a lot is, when is our calendar going to be up to date? So we are kind of in a holding pattern. Arrowhead, really their calendar kind of controls the transportation of the district with the buses for our contract. Their schedule and calendar will be ready and hopefully approved December 13th. So we will have the draft to our student achievement committee in January. So we did highlight, we know when we're going to start school, September 3rd, and we know when spring break is, March 24th through the 28th. So we'll continue to share out as much information as we can. Look for January. We're a little bit behind with that Arrowhead schedule.
Share the congratulations you shared. That's a huge
Sure. I mean, I know Maria, principal, past, present, teachers, past and present, have been working their tails off. If you look at the trend line over the last several years, it really is heading in the right direction. I'm thrilled about it. I'm happy about it. I'm happy for these kids because when you look at the data, we're setting them up for success when they leave here, which is our number one goal. And all the data is pointing to setting them up the best we can for success as they move on. And so I just know in the almost 3 years I've been on board and I'm student achievement committee, it's been a lot of work thinking about it and planning and tracking. So I'm just very happy and gratified. I'll thank you for it.
I would say as the student, if you're interested in seeing what Maria explained earlier, the piece about the growth is particularly important. And it's one thing to have talented students who we have here, but then we are showing the growth for everyone across, no matter where they start. That's what our education should be for. So it's interesting to hear how they come up with that number that Maria explains, and also something that I think we see growth, but we don't know what goes into that. So that's that particularly useful. Okay.
Good job, guys. When they was well, right.
We did. Okay, you ready to collective and personnel?
Sure, yeah, again, we reviewed a couple things. One is we reviewed, first of all, our calendar to kind of review our employee benefits and time off. And again, there was a employee survey that we surveyed and had 54 responses from all of our staff. So we'll take a look at that, be able to do a deep dive into some of the ideas and the things that our staff values, whether it be time off, compensation, LSAs, lifestyle savings accounts, whatever it might be, short-term disability, some things like that too. So again, more to come on that. And the other piece was basically a introduction and a review of our health insurance benefits. So as you know, we were removed from the Waukesha County Insurance Co-op back in April. We found out it did give us a lot of time to really respond to a new environment in our current reality. So we worked with the insurance center and we went out to bid effective January 1st. The reason why we went back to January 1st was our employee deductibles reset January 1. So we were going to, why not make a plan change January 1, have your deductible set then for the rest of the year, compared to if we were going to make a plan design in July, we would then, if we went to a different carrier other than United Healthcare, you'd have a whole nother set of deductibles. Again, we didn't want a double whammy, either the district and or our employees. So we looked at a January 1 renewal, and we did come up, we had 3 bids. 2 of them were from fully insured carriers, WPS imports, which were close to 50% renewal. Very expensive. The option that we were going to be pursuing, we're going to be moving forward, was a self-insured option, considering it's a level funded, which means over the next 12 months, we will know exactly what our premiums are going to be. And in a self-funded environment, ultimately it's premiums versus claims. And so again, they've done the analysis. We do have a stop loss max at 125%, which is where we set our premiums for our staff to be at. And ultimately, it's resulted in approximately a 1% deduct in premiums for the district. So when self-funded, we now see kind of the data behind why did some of our big school districts leave the co-op and go self-funded. Well, we're going self-funded and we saw a 1% decrease right off the bat. So now the education starts, right? Because when you're self-funded, obviously, if we save money, claims are less than what premiums are collected, that then stays with the district and moves forward to a new a renewal, right? To offset your renewal the following year. So we have begun that. We're starting our employee meetings. We'll have another one here Wednesday. We'll have an open enrollment meeting the following Wednesday, because the big difference is it is going to be a 2-tiered system. So there are in-network providers, and then there is a more wide open network where our employees can buy up into, if in fact they would like to stay with that wide open network, and the doctors too as well. So a lot of education going on with our staff from that standpoint too. So so far we've had a lot of good conversations, good questions. We're going to get our staff engaged and see what we can do to help them through this. For probably well over 50% of us, they won't even see a difference. This plan also is a no deductible plan. So it is a complete co-pay driven plan. All of the primary care visits are free. Obviously, we want to funnel into that primary care and be the primary care provider. So The details will continue to iron out. Sophie and I have spent probably the last, or about 3 to 4 hours over the last couple days. With Centivo, with the insurance center, asking questions, how is everything going to work? And leading up to a big presentation by Centivo in the insurance center on December 6th, which will start our open enrollment as well. So that's great news on the health insurance side, because it is our second largest expenditure in the district at a little over $1 million, right around $1.2 million.
Two questions, I guess, clarification. So you said 54 people took the survey.
Yeah.
I hadn't realized until our finance meeting that only 55 people participated in the insurance. So is that many?
This was for everyone. Yep, that was set for everyone. We do have, we are able to segregate who was on the family plan, the individual plan, not eligible. So again, that was all part of the demographic.
And then my other isn't a question, say, reminder that when we're self-funded as part of the self-funded system as well. And we do save money if we don't use the health insurance, but no one should ever be shamed or feel like they cannot use their health insurance. That's why we have health insurance. I know in our self-funded system, we had somebody who had a very ill child and they felt bad because it affected, like, that's why we have insurance. So that I never want anybody to feel like they shouldn't be using their insurance because of the group there, and that's why we have it.
No, and we do have stop loss, you know, part of a captive and stuff like that. And the other opportunity that we feel that basically the high performance plan offers is zero deductible. So we don't want finances to be a barrier for someone to go to either their doctor, go to the emergency room, either urgent care specialist. With the copay structure, you know what you can predict it. It's not that, holy cow, if I go here, it's gonna be a $3,000 bill like we had with an HSA plan. I think there's benefits to an HSA plan, but one of the downfalls to a high deductible plan is it's expensive. And you start to think about, you know, the salaries of a new teacher, for instance, and if they have a $3,000 deductible on a $50,000 salary. Wow.
And going early is usually less expensive.
And we want them to go early. So what we also took a look at is our survey data showed they wanted lower premium and lower deductible. We delivered on that. And well, not we, the insurance center did, and we had a partner to go forward. Because we are part of a co-op, we're part of the business health group cooperative, and that is the purchasing power that we're using. Hence, a more narrower network with ProHealth, Freighter, Children's, and then you have a wider network where that business healthcare group hasn't been able to achieve the level of financial stability or financial costing with some of those providers. So that's just double dipping into finance as well.
And will Centivo be there on Wednesday, or it's just more gather information for the following meeting in December?
You got it. Yep. So Centivo will be there on December 6th, as well as the insurance center. I wanted to offer an opportunity for our staff to come and ask questions, because again, if you're starting to think about changing your provider, you need to start thinking about that now. I've got a lot more information on virtual visits, but the big part that I pushed out was, I just want to know what questions to ask. And when you come to the 6th, we can get that information to you. So then you can make the educated decision whether you want to stay on our plan, which plan, cash and move. And that was just an FYI.
Yep, and we're on finance committee.
Okay, so finance committee, and again, after all of the levy, the enrollments, all of the variables, back in May, we do a preliminary budget, and it's all guesses. Now, last month, we did do a final approval of the, basically the mill rates, as well as the tax levy. We know what it is we're working with. We did propose a $70,000 deficit back in May. Since then, there's been some things that have changed. Obviously, we've got enrollments and stuff like that, but a couple big things that were not really expected as much as they were back in May. Two of them is that the increase of our special education costs. We're up about $450,000 from where we were a year before. Okay, that's not what we anticipated. And the other piece is the difference in our open enrollment revenue compared to our open enrollment in, open enrollment out. I did share with the board a 3-year or 5-year rolling average, and we're short an estimate of approximately $170,000 from about a year ago.
So, so again, that helped that was kind of with that deficit too as well. The other piece, and again, the question was asked about, are we able to balance that budget yet if we wanted to? Certainly. In this budget, we have approximately $450,000 in facility improvements. So, and we've got 141, 146, to be able to use some of those if we want to. I don't advise us to do so because we do have a very healthy fund balance. But at the end of the year, and at the end of the day, I'd love to have a balanced budget yet. Again, we've got 12 months to be able to make that up. There's gonna be ebbs and flows to all of that. But again, right now, if we were running a deficit, it would just come from our fund balance, which is very, very healthy. The other piece here that, I want to be noted is when we did leave the co-op, it triggered about an additional $300,000 in healthcare costs. So, and that's in addition to what we were anticipating. So, that's another reason that, and again, we have to remain benefits competitive. We want to remain salary competitive, in this very busy workforce environment too as well. So that's what you have fund balances for. If we don't want it to be reoccurring, we can't continue to do that. But those are some of the big differences when we take a look at either revenue or expenditures.
Pretty wise, we didn't leave the co-op left us.
Correct.
We didn't choose.
Couple things just to clarify. Difference in the 23-24 budget is $233,000 for open enroll.
Yep.
You said 170.
Right. What we anticipated in the previous year, we made $430,000.
Right.
So instead of making $430,000, we made $233,000. So it's actually about $180,000.
The other part of that question was, do we know where those kids went? Oh, and to clarify, it's not just, it's a combination of some Merton kids, so district families leaving. And it's also a combination of other districts' kids who were coming into our district. We get $8,400 about for each kid. Those kids now not coming here and going somewhere else. It also could be a combination of if an 8th grade class was more heavily weighted in open enrollee and one of those rolls off, that can also impact it. But the question is, do we know where kids went? Did they go back to their home district? If they were open enrolled in, and then the ones that left, do we know where they went?
We do know, the ones who left, if you're open enrolled into our school district and you decide to leave, we don't know where they went. Outside of, I shouldn't say that, we have to send records somewhere. And if you're a Merton resident and you go to a public school, we know where you go to as well. So I don't have those numbers in front of me and the specifics in front of me, but to answer the question, we do know where they go.
Okay. I have a follow-up on that question. Are we taking the opportunity to reach out via phone, via email, via mailer, now that our report cards are out, to toot our own horn a little bit to all those folks that left, either open enrolled in or open enrolled out, you know, to say, hey, look at us, we're number 6 in the entire state of Wisconsin for district report card. If you look at the K-8, we'd be number 4 in the entire state. Come back to us. We've got great educational opportunities. Are we doing that? Will we be doing that? We can. Yep.
I was also wondering about what essentially our PR opportunities are for our report. And there's not a lot of ways to, we don't take out ads and things like that, say, look how we are. But ways that we spread that news, that's really good news. We just don't have a lot of vehicles that are only close to.
Well, we have to use the ones that we have. Yeah.
Are we throwing it on the screens outside?
Wow.
Social media?
Absolutely.
It went down on social media, didn't it?
There was
Yeah.
when they released,
Okay.
When they released it.
but also,
Oh, yeah.
I think you actually had a link to the
Do it again.
report card.
You know, how many of those families actually left because of academic issues? Or are there other issues in the school that they left?
We do reach out to them. and ask, why you chose to leave. And some people respond, there's a plethora of issues, some of them are, student related, we have, the environment, related.
I'm sure last year.
We did work, there's some challenges that we continue to face, but yeah.
Any other questions? Okay, we're gonna move on to new business then. And, discussion on the word packet. How we deal with new contract, letters of appointment, and letters of resignation.
So this is something I raised, and I don't have to work on conclusion. This is having learned that other districts don't necessarily do that. I was interested in us thinking about why we do, our purpose for doing so, and the benefits and downsides of doing so. So when I was thinking about the letters, so they serve a few parts. One, it is an opportunity for someone to voice. It also is, since your resignation letter is public, that could be an opportunity to voice, or it could be an opportunity not to put something down there because you know, I think you can go both ways. It can serve, since it's in the packet, as community information. We know that it also serves community aspects, kind of that as well. One of the downsides is that since we don't comment on personnel matters, whatever is in there, the board really can't do anything, right? So we don't comment on whatever is in there, so that needs to be a conversation, right? That's not a conversation that we have publicly. So one of the piece that I sent for everybody to read when I was looking around for what other people do or how they think about this is that it is one of the, in other districts, so it was a nationwide study, looked at how they were using things, or how they were using these letters, and that the number of people who were using them as their only public way to comment on what they thought was a broken system. And so I'm not interested in reducing people's ability to make said comments, but wondering if there are other ways that we can get people to voice that. And on the flip side, some people will voice it, while other people may feel it will not voice it because it is a public letter. So I was interested in our conversation about what we think the benefits are of doing so. We may want to continue to do so, or if you think that we want to change that.
Well, first, to answer the last part, I think we've got other opportunities for people to speak out, and that is exit interviews by an independent third party that is doing those. So we're not doing them. So it's an independent, there's confidentiality there. We are doing occasional surveys, staff surveys. So there's opportunities there. Where people could do it. I would echo, I struggled with this too over the last couple of years, just because it seems like the challenge is the board and the administrative team has information. I think back to, there was a question asked when I ran for school board about like, something to the effect of like, hey, if you're on the school board and you know something and it's private information because it's confidential, and you've got to make a decision, are you going to be able to make a decision in the best interest for the district? It was something to that effect. I can't tell you how many times over the last 2.5 years as board members and administrators, we have the information. And we can't share that information because it's confidential and you'd be violating trust and laws too. And so when we get some of these letters, sometimes we can't comment. And so it's a very one-sided, and it makes us look bad. It makes our team look bad. And there are times you'd love to be able to stand up and say something, and you can't. It's not right. So it is a challenge. I recognize that. I recognize people need to want to speak, want to vent. I don't know what the right answer is. I appreciate you bringing it up and having a conversation as a board member and some of that was sitting out there for a number of years watching. It's tough, and I don't know what the right answer is. I really don't. Some days I wish we didn't put them in there, and some days, I'm glad because it is transparency and it is part of the process. And sometimes part of the process is that, is whether it's, messy or ugly or whatever, but I hope people can understand though that can be and are sometimes two sides there, so.
One thing I would like to specify is make sure it's clear, if in fact, whatever decision that we want to make directive, not decision, directive to administration. A letter that is written to the board for resignation is open record. It is it's an official record. It is. And so again, if somebody wants to see that record, they can ask and turn it over. So it is an official record, so that doesn't go away.
Correct.
Yeah, but whether it ends up in
A different.
online, sent out to families, again, that's.
Over all the years, there are far more letters that we've gotten that have been positive than negative on resignation letters. As you said, it can be ugly. But that's part of what we signed up for is somebody ugly, so. You just have to move them.
I get that, and I think where I struggle is, in the world we live in today, with social media and the negative effects of social media on everything in our culture, permeates everything in our culture, and creates this kind of negative feedback loop. It's not helping, I think, it poses a serious challenge to whether you want to call it PR, or just a community culture. It really has been a negative thing in our district. And I don't know about other districts, because I don't pay attention to other districts, but I can just speak to, I think in the world we live in today with social media, just that endless cycle and it getting pushed out and repeated, I think hurts us reputationally. And again, I don't know what the right answer is. I just know that it's a big challenge, and I appreciate the conversation.
We also, I think, have a challenge in that, what board matters are for. So if we get a resignation and the next meeting we have a closed session meeting, then it comes in as a closed session. I think sometimes that looks to the community like we did something when it just happened to be the next meeting that came up, and that was part of the procedure. So I think that is also an area of clarity or that I don't know where to be very clear.
It's a nuanced thing that unless you're on board or deeply immersed in board activity, you probably don't recognize or understand that. I agree.
I don't know if there's if we were to keep this and it came in the closed session, in fact, it's noted in the next open session that this letter was received previously, or I don't know if there's a way to help people understand what that is for.
If it's in closed session, does it get attached in the next board packet?
Closed session.
Closed session minutes was either, but we have announced that the board does have the opportunity for like the last two resignations that happened in the closed session. They were announced afterwards and then ultimately pushed out.
But the letter didn't go out, it's just that the resignation was there.
Unless the resignation was accepted and then ultimately in that framework, it was open record request. So we'll open the board.
It's a weird thing to do.
But I understand it's everywhere.
So there's the procedure and then there's the procedure. It doesn't sound like there's a particular way to change it, so I'm wondering if it comes in a closed session, is that, do we need to do anything else to be transparent? Do we let it be OR? Is that the?
Yeah, or is there a once or twice a year conversation like this? Where a board, or however it's made up of at that time, can have a conversation or should have a conversation with the community and say, hey, we recognize, just like we're doing here tonight, like there's some pluses and some minuses. Historically, maybe they're very benign and good letters, and maybe some letters, have recently haven't been as kind to our district, but just reminding people, board members, administrators, supervisors have other data points and information that, go into things. And maybe just a general conversation about, use of social media and negative.
Well, also as it relates to, the other part of that, resignation, but appointments, contracts, those other pieces too that go into the personnel action part. That, there's a lot of different data points, information, situational things that may occur when trying to hire an individual that, is difficult to show. So.
I'm wondering then, is this, and this is on the point of what a big transparency. We have a few things that happen before meetings, and one happened tonight, it certainly happened to me when I came to a board meeting. I didn't understand the difference between the community forum and the delegation. And it was a couple of meetings before I figured out where my misunderstanding was. Is there do we have a web page for the community about board procedures? And so that you can say there that this, the letters coming to receive next meeting, something that if somebody's trying to figure out what was going on. When I was sitting in the audience, when I was listening to it being streamed, I didn't know what I didn't know to ask. So I just thought I missed something. I missed an opportunity. Now there was a procedure that I was trying to keep up on and I didn't understand. But I don't know if something like that would be helpful, or a once a year, here's the usual. Trying to figure out how to help us make meaning with the community in a way that helps us.
Well, we do have the agenda landing page. Could you just put a document of, a document that says how board meetings work? You know what I mean? Sure. And to your point, you have like community forum, that's where you can exchange and have a dialogue and get answers from the board, and then the second point where you can speak to the board is in delegation of word, in that instance, kind of. And then to your point about procedures on like letters of recommendation, when you receive them, typically they're taken up at the next board meeting, which could be a closed session or a special session versus the normally monthly schedule. Fourth one day of the month type of deal. That's not good. At least that way, if folks are going and pulling the agenda, they see it there at the top of the screen that says how board meetings work, something like that.
We have an involved community. When I grew up, they said, what do you mean you come to meetings? So that is not something I think other communities, not all communities have involvement, so that isn't a question that comes up to them. So we are, when I moved here, I was happy to see that people in meetings are involved. That's good, but it also means that we might need a little more opportunity for people to understand what you're saying.
I just want to go back to the item, what was the board packet, and I just like to say that it's a good reason for us as a board to be looking on trust issues with that community. We try to get back to a level of trust that our community should have for our board, because even the data that we got back from a survey showed we had lost trust with our community, and so good goal for us as a board to earn our community's trust. Okay, we're on to the final approval of the project with those changes that we've shared in the finance committee.
So, again, just, get a motion on the floor and you can have some discussion if that's, the way it works. The finance committee is recommending the board make a motion to approve the 23-24 budget as presented.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on approving the 23-24 budget. Discussion. Everybody pretty well understands what you shared.
We typically, in my experience, albeit short, we've done better than what our budget. So I think, $130,000 is a lot of money, but we've typically done better with our expenses. I think we're conservative budgeters, I think, with regard to expenses and the timing of things and different things. I agree, we've got very capital funds available if we really needed to, if something drastic changed, but that typically doesn't happen for us in school districts with regards to revenue. And we have a very healthy fund 10 balance as well, which we talked about a couple of months ago as far as setting that percentage before utilizing that to. So, while I recognize to folks that's a lot of money, I think that confidence will come in under the 130. Whether it gets to zero, who knows, but
Final review of that. When we think about the budget for the year, so in my opinion, I felt like something this summer was the, here's where we thought we would be last year, here's where we ended.
yeah,
So there is.
June 30th is the year.
It gets to hear what
June 30th is the year end, and July is when we have to set any money aside in Fund 46. And that's where we really kind of detail kind of what is our surplus from that year. In this past year, we set aside $140,000, I think, in the Fund 46. So you'll know more about that. And then from the finance committee, we meet quarterly, so that's how we kind of continue to track progress. I know the last quarterly one was irrelevant because it's so early, but then the next time is we're halfway through, and we'll see what's going on.
And I hope we can pick up some more better on the student. Yeah.
Get our marketing hats on, picking up the phone and smile and dial, as they say.
You know, the second Friday in January.
Second Friday in January.
Let's make those calls.
Okay, any other discussion? All in favor of accepting the 23-24 budget, say aye.
Aye.
Hold same sign. Motion carried. We have some policy work here to do.
Again, last month, we had 5 new policies that we presented to the full board for the feedback. These have gone through the policy committee as well. So this time we only have 5 or 6 of them to be 5 new policies and then 1 deletion that we move back to as well. So we would like to do the others.
Motion to approve access to public records policy 823 that has been recommended by the policy committee and provided to the full board for its consideration and action.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? If all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Hold same sign. Motion's carried.
Motion to approve records management and retention policy 823.1 that has been recommended by the policy committee and provided to the full board for its consideration and action.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Discussion? All in favor, then say aye.
Aye.
Hold same sign. Motion carried.
Motion to approve general records schedule 823.1R rule that has been recommended by the policy committee and provided to the full board for its consideration and action.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
I think I know this and might be remind. Is this something all schools now are committed? This is something we made up, right? This was recommended.
No, this is recommended. There was a new records retention policy that was produced from the state of Wisconsin, and we are adopting that record schedule.
Okay, the other discussion. All in favor, then say aye.
Aye.
Hold same sign. Motion carried.
Motion to approve access to public records notice and fee schedule policy 823.2 that has been recommended by the policy committee and provided to the full board for its consideration and action.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
In the last page of this, the special notice regarding, is the only difference the removal of the term adult student. This is the last paragraph where it's totally related and then there's a new one that you think, right? So that's the only difference. Okay.
Any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
A motion to approve general procedures for handling public record requests, policy 823.2R rule that has been recommended by the policy committee and provided to the full board for its consideration and action.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, then say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Motion to delete policy 4012.2 notice to the public, access to public record.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for the deletion 4012.2. Because it's in the place. Any discussion?
So just pointing out that 4012.2 is being deleted because the 5 above it is replacing it.
Yeah.
Then if there's no other discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Okay. Are we ready to move on to future meeting and get that?
We have, December 18th is our regular board meeting. Ahead of that meeting, at approximately 5 o'clock, we'll have a visioning session for declining with Excel leadership. And then afterwards, we'll have the district administrator evaluation policy 222 administrative review afterwards.
In close session.
In closed session, those are closed session. Thank you for clarifying that. Two things I'd like to talk about. One is do we want to reschedule or when can we schedule it's up to the board self-evaluation? I know December 5th. I know Nicole is unable to make it due to prior commitment. Sure, I'm not sure if you, so I don't know if the board wants to select a different date, just we try it, so, you know, give this back to the board.
Tough to tell you.
Do we have a time that we do it?
Oh, technically, we're supposed to do it in October. and November.
Yeah, I know.
I think when we passed that last year, Troy, remember when we passed that, I think we purposely left 2 months in there to give wiggle room. So we've blown through that.
We struggle with that.
Yeah.
Darn, where are the tickets to show?
Do we have any other dates for the?
That was the only one I think that was sent out.
I only asked for one day, correct, yeah.
But we could,
Yeah, holiday concerts, the 11th, 12th, and 13th.
So that's.
I guess every single day. I have a few pockets, so I should.
I mean, if it's not December, we may just want to look at January as well. We certainly
Do
can.
our rules allow, the rules that we set for ourselves allow us.
Well, again,
We're already outside our wedding.
I think you're likely a better.
give ourselves a break here. It's the first time we're endeavoring to do this, so I would ask that, can the 5 of us email Ron 2 days in the first week of January or 2 days in the second week of January? That would work. And I can, or do a doodle, I can do a doodle, like the first and second week of the month. Again, and that's just effort to.
That's fine.
Get it done.
Okay,
No
problem.
okay,
also, I would like to talk to the board about if we want to, we do have business manager candidates to interview. You know, in the past, we have got together as a full board. How would you like to proceed? Would you like to have the finance committee? Would you like to try to see when the 5 of us could get together with our mid team, or do you want just 2 members of the board to be there and work with, and try to get a date? Because I would like to try to get a date over the next week or so, by next week.
I could, one of it's not, when my kids have a concert, I'll make myself available.
For your mornings,
I can do mornings, evenings, are hard.
Or I'm looking at 4 or 5. So it would be,
Often do 4 to 5 except for 15.
So there's, I mean, is the interest for.
It sounds like the interest is in many people are available.
Yeah, I think you should schedule it and then.
See who can make it. I mean, I wanna work with at least 2 board members who can be there for sure. You know, I don't know if you,
In your background.
Andrew,
Yeah. Andrew, I'll do the best I can.
Yeah, I'll work with you.
okay, all right, okay. And then we'll pick a day, it'll be the week of the 4th through the 7th sometime. We'll see that, we'll do that too, so, okay, thank you. And then we just, the January meetings, okay, we've got the open enrollment January 25th and February 26th. Okay. Okay.
Motion to adjourn?
The motion is second, all in favor, then say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Will same sign. Meeting adjourned. Me.